I shot my husband in the chest with his own service pistol the night he confessed to embezzling $500,000 from the precinct's evidence locker, framing me for his fuck-ups while he ran off with that wide-eyed rookie who thought his badge made him a god. My in-laws, those holier-than-thou pricks from the Bible Belt side of the family, swooped in like vultures at a roadkill buffet, snatching custody papers from the lawyer's hands before his body even cooled, screaming to anyone who'd listen that I was the reckless slut who'd always been too wild for their golden boy, too irresponsible to wipe my own ass. But as I stood there in the rain-soaked driveway of our crumbling split level in suburban Ohio, 5 wide-eyed kids clinging to my legs like burrs on a wool sock, I made a vow that tasted like battery acid. I'd raise them not just to survive, but to thrive, to carve out a legacy so sharp it would slice through every lie those bastards ever told, leaving them bleeding out their own regrets. The sirens wailed like banshees as the cops hauled me away in cuffs that bit into my wrists like cheap jewelry from a flea market. Rain hammered the squad car roof, turning the world outside into a smeared watercolor of sodium lights and blurred taillights on I-71. Inside, the air stank of wet vinyl and stale coffee. And the detective in the passenger seat, some grizzled vet named Kowalski with a mustache that looked like it lost a fight with a weed whacker, kept glancing at me in the rearview like I was a bomb about to tick over. "You got 5 minutes to spill it, Mrs. Harlan," he grunted, his voice gravel over glass. "Your husband's DOA. Bullet from his own Glock. Ballistics don't lie. You do this." I laughed then, a sharp, ugly bark that echoed off the partition. "Spill what? How he spent our savings on hookers in Cleveland. Or how he planted that evidence ledger in my purse to cover his ass when internal affairs came knocking." My voice cracked on the last word, but I swallowed it down. No tears. Not yet. Not in front of these badge-wearing pricks who'd probably golfed with Tommy at the department picnic last summer. Kowalski's eyes narrowed, the lines around them deepening like fault lines in drought-cracked earth. "Embezzlement's a motive. Sure. But murder? That's federal time, sweetheart. And with the kids." "Fuck the kids," I snapped. But it was a lie. Hot and immediate as heartburn. Ellie was 7. With Tommy's dimples and my temper, Jack 5. Already building Lego forts against invisible monsters, the twins. Mia and Max. 3-year chaos machines who thought bedtime was a suggestion, and little Ben. Barely 1. With gums that bruised like overripe peaches when he teethed. They were the only pure thing in this shitstorm of a life. And I'd just orphaned them with one pull of the trigger. The station was a fluorescent hell, buzzing lights, echoing shouts, the metallic tang of fierce sweat from drunks in holding. They processed me like ground beef, fingerprints, mugshot, the works. My photo would hit the Akron Beacon Journal by morning. Local cop's wife slays husband in apparent rage killing. Sensational. Sellable. And not a goddamn word about the secret he'd buried deeper than Jimmy Hoffa, the ledgers he'd forged, the bribes he'd taken from that sleazy developer downtown, the way he'd laughed over whiskey one night, whispering, "Babe, it's not stealing if the system's already rotten." By dawn, the family descended. First came my sister, Lorraine, all peroxide highlights and yoga pants, fluttering her fake lashes like butterfly wings dipped in Roundup. "Oh, Sarah," she cooed through the visitor glass, pressing manicured nails to the pane. "What have you done?" Tommy was the stable one. "You, always the wild child. Remember? That time you totaled Dad's truck joyriding to the lake?" I gripped the phone receiver so hard the plastic creaked. "Stable? He was a thief." "Lore. And you knew. You covered for him when he borrowed from the joint account for your spa weekends." Her face crumpled like wet Kleenex. That's not fair. We were helping. The kids need stability now. Mom and Dad say. Grandma and Grandpa say I'm what? Too irresponsible to raise a goldfish. The words tasted like ash. Our parents, retired in Florida with their golf cart empire and evangelical book club, had never hidden their disdain. Sarah the screw-up, dropped out of community college after one semester, waitress through my 20s, married Tommy because he had a pension and a pulse. 5 kids in 7 years?
To them,
That was me breeding like a rabbit in heat, popping out mouths to feed because I couldn't hack real life. Lorraine leaned closer, voice dropping to a conspiratorial hiss. They're filing for emergency guardianship today. For the kids' sake. You understand, right? Prison moms don't bake cookies. I slammed the receiver down, the bang echoing like a second gunshot. Guardianship. Those vultures circling my babies. Dad would ship them off to private schools in Boca, drill them with Bible verses and country club manners, erase every trace of the gritty Cleveland girl who'd birthed them in a hospital that smelled like bleach and regret. Mom would coo about poor Tommy at Bridge Club, spinning tales of the devoted husband cut down by my hysteria. But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. As the guard led me back to holding, past the bullpen where cops muttered about another domestic on south, a spark ignited in my gut. Hot. Vengeful.
alive.
Tommy had betrayed me first. But the family? They'd finish the job unless I fought Dirty. And Dirty was my middle name. 2 weeks blurred into a nightmare of arraignments and pleas. Bail denied, flight risk, they said, with a straight face, ignoring how my entire world was 5 car seats and diaper bags. The public defender, a harried kid fresh out of Case Western, assured me we'd beat the embezzlement frame job. Self-defense angle, he mumbled, scribbling notes. The gun was in the house. He came at you.
He didn't.
Tommy had knelt, blubbering apologies, the mistress's texts lighting up his phone like a Vegas slot machine. But admitting that meant admitting the theft. The lies. The way he'd gaslit me for years. You're paranoid.
Sarah.
Imagining things. Take your meds. The kids visited once, under supervised eyes in a room that reeked of institutional cleaner. Ellie clung to the mesh divider, her pigtails askew, whispering, Mommy, when can we go home? Grandma says you're sick. Jack punched the air, mimicking a cartoon hero. I'll protect you from the bad guys. The twins babbled nonsense, and Ben gummed the phone, leaving slobbery prints. I pressed my palm to the glass opposite theirs, memorizing their faces, the freckles on Ellie's nose, the cowlick that defied every brush. Soon, babies. Mommy's fixing it. Be strong for me. That night, in my cell bunk, staring at water stains that looked like screaming faces, I started planning. Revenge wasn't a sprint. It was a marathon through razor wire. Step 1, get out. Step 2, claw the kids back. Step 3, make them all pay not with bullets, but with the slow poison of truth. Success. The kind that festered. The in-laws made their move at the custody hearing, a circus in family court downtown. Evelyn Harlan, Tommy's mom, took the stand in pearls and a Chanel suit that screamed old money on a cop's salary, probably bought with the same dirty cash he'd skimmed. My daughter-in-law, she testified, dabbing crocodile tears with a monogrammed hanky, has a history of instability. The children witnessed her rages. We fear for their safety. My lawyer objected. But the judge, a silver-haired fossil with golf-tan skin, waved it off. Proceed. Then came the kicker, Dad. Flown in from Florida, lumbering to the mic in his ill-fitting suit. Sarah's always been impulsive. We love her, but the grandchildren deserve better. Structure. Faith. Impulsive. That was code for the time I'd keyed my ex-boyfriend's car in high school, or the bar fight at 22 when some drunk grabbed my ass. Never mind the night shifts I'd pulled at the diner to pay for their braces, the PDA bake sales I'd shared with casseroles baked at 3 a.m. The gavel fell like a guillotine. Temporary custody to the Harlans. Full hearing in 90 days. I was escorted out in chains, but not before locking eyes with Evelyn. She smiled thin, triumphant. The smile of a woman who'd buried 2 husbands and their secrets without a wrinkle. That smile fueled me. As the van rumbled back to lockup, past strip malls and rusted factories, I whispered to the dark, "You want Irresponsible? I'll show you what that really looks like." Solitary was a gift wrapped in concrete, time to think, to scheme, without the chatter of cell block drama queens. The walls closed in like a vice, but in that squeeze, ideas crystallized. Tommy's death wasn't just a tragedy, it was a liberation. The embezzlement? Buried in his desk drawer. Encrypted on a USB he'd hidden in the garage rafters. I'd found it months ago, during one of his late shifts, my hands shaking as I copied files to my old laptop. Bank transfers to offshore accounts. Payoffs to Councilman Greasy Palms like Victor Slade, the developer who'd grease more wheels than a NASCAR pit crew. Tommy had played Robin Hood in his own deluded head, stealing from the corrupt to fund our dream life. But the dream was a nightmare. Maxed credit cards, a mortgage we couldn't touch, me juggling 2 jobs while he golfed with the brass. I'd kept quiet because of the kids. Snitch on him, and the house of cards collapsed.
But now?
Now it was leverage. My public defender, Eddie Ruiz, visited twice a week. His tie always crooked like he'd slept in it. "Good news," he said one gray afternoon, flipping through depositions. "The mistress, Officer Jenna Hale, is talking. Says Tommy confessed the skim to her. Corroborates your story." I leaned forward, chains rattling. "And the family? They know." Eddie nodded.
Grim.
"Evelyn's been lawyered up. Big firm from Columbus. They're pushing the grieving widow angle hard. Grieving my ass. Evelyn had hated me from day one, called me that Milltown trash at our wedding, when Tommy and I tied the knot in a courthouse with chili dogs after. She'd wanted him to marry up. Some debutante with a trust fund, not the girl from the wrong side of the Cuyahoga who'd fucked her way out of foster care at 18. "Get me bail," I told Eddie. "I'll wear an ankle monitor. Shovel shit at the dog park, whatever. Just get me out."
He promised to try.
Meanwhile, letters trickled in, censor-approved scraps from Lorraine. Full of platitudes. "The kids miss you." "Praying for healing." Bullshit. Attached were photos. Ellie in a starched dress at church. Jack with a forced smile beside Uncle Harlan's golden retriever. Brainwashing. Plain and simple. Then came the bomb, a note from an old contact, smuggled via a guard's cousin who'd waitressed with me at Big Boys. Slade sniffing around. Knows about the files. Offer incoming. Victor Slade. The kingpin of Cleveland's shadow economy. With a penthouse overlooking Lake Erie and enough politicians in his pocket to fill a convention hall. Tommy had funneled him protection money from the precinct, Kickbacks for turning blind eyes to his strip mall empire's shady permits. If Slade wanted those files, it meant Tommy's web was unraveling, and I was the loose thread. I wrote back, terse, tell him I'm listening. But price is custody. Risky? Hell yes. Controversial? In a town where half the judges moonlighted for developers. It was suicidal. But desperate times birthed desperate bitches. And I was evolving. Bail hearing came like a thunderclap. Courtroom packed, reporters from the Plain Dealer. Evelyn in the front row radiating sanctimony. My parents video-linked from their condo. Dad's jowls quivering on the screen. Eddie argued self-defense, the embezzlement as context. My spotless record as a mother, PDA treasurer, soccer mom extraordinaire. The prosecutor. A shark named Harlan, no relation. Thank Christ. Countered with psych evals, defendant exhibits signs of untreated bipolar disorder. History of volatility. Volatility. Their word for the panic attacks that hit when bills piled up. When Tommy came home reeking of bourbon and someone else's perfume. The judge deliberated over lunch, probably pastrami on rye at the club. When he returned, his verdict hung in the air like exhaust. Bail granted. $250,000. Conditions: ankle monitor. No contact with Harlan family. Weekly counseling. I was out by dusk. The monitor's cold bite a small price. Eddie fronted the bond via some shady uncle. Repayment would come from Slade's generosity. Home wasn't home anymore. The Harlans had secured the house pending estate settlement, code for stripping it bare. Drawers emptied. Fridge stocked with their organic kale bullshit. But the garage? Untouched. I climbed the ladder in the dark. Heart pounding. And there it was, the USB, taped to a rafter like a rat's turd. Plugging it into my laptop, spared because it was mine. The files bloomed, spreadsheets of sin. Emails linking Tommy to Slade's shell companies. Even photos of kickback drops in public square parking garages. Gold. Poison. My Excalibur. First call was to Lorraine. Tell Mom and Dad the kids are coming home. Today. Her voice cracked over the line. Sarah. You can't. The papers. Watch me. She caved. Fear or guilt. Didn't matter. By midnight, a minivan pulled up outside the in-laws' McMansion in Shaker Heights. Headlights cutting the fog like accusations. Evelyn answered the door in a robe. Curlers peeking like Medusa snakes. This is harassment. I'll call the cops. Call 'em, I said, monitor beeping softly. Tell them how your son funded your facelifts with stolen evidence cash. Her face drained of color, lips pursing like a drawstring. Behind her, the kids tumbled out, sleep rumpled, eyes huge. Ellie launched into my arms. Jack buried his face in my hip. The twins chanted Mommy, like a mantra, and Ben reached pudgy hands, oblivious. Evelyn blocked the door. You think you can just... I shoved the USB printouts into her chest, blurry photos of Tommy handing envelopes to Slade's goons. Or we go public. Your choice, Evelyn. Legacy or landfill? She snatched the papers, eyes darting. You're bluffing. Try me. The air crackled, tense as a storm front. Behind her, Harold, Tommy's dad, the silent enabler, hovered, face ashen. He'd known. They all had. Defeat slithered into her posture. 1 week. Then court. Keep dreaming. I herded the kids to the van, buckling them in like fragile cargo. As we peeled out, Ellie whispered. Are we safe now? Mom, safer than before. But the road ahead? Paved with landmines. Back in the house, our house, I barricaded the door with the couch. The kids conked out on air mattresses in the living room. Dawn broke bloody over the lake. And my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Harlan residence, I answered. Voice steady. A voice like oiled leather. Mrs. Harlan. Victor Slade. Let's talk business. Slade's office wasn't in some glossy high-rise. It was a nondescript warehouse on the edge of the flats, where the Cuyahoga's toxic sludge lapped at concrete pilings like a drunk's tongue. Chain-link fence topped with razor wire. Guards in ill-fitting suits who eyed me like I was fresh meat. The ankle monitor chirped as I walked. A digital leash in this den of wolves. Inside, the air hung heavy with diesel and desperation, forklifts humming, a crate stamped machinery parts that probably hid God knows what. Slade waited in a back room converted to faux executive, mahogany desk scavenged from a bankrupt casino, walls papered in faded damask. He was shorter than I'd imagined, compact as a fireplug, with a silver pompadour and a pinky ring that screamed, I own this town, Mrs. Harlan, he said, rising with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, shark's teeth behind velvet. Condolences on your loss.
Tommy was.
Useful.
I said universitet.
Crossing my arms. The kids were with Lorraine neutral ground. For now, under strict orders, no Harlan contact. Cut the eulogy. You want the files. I want my life back. He chuckled, low and rumbling, pouring bourbon from a decanter that looked older than Prohibition.
Direct.
I like that. Your husband's indiscretions messy, but fixable. I shred the evidence, and poof, no headlines, no audits. In return, custody cleared. A nest egg for the little ones.
Say.
$200K. The offer dangled like bait on a hook. Enough to fix the roof, pay off debts, maybe enroll Ellie in that arts program she loved. But $200K from a man who'd probably ordered more hits than a mob accountant? It reeked. And the frame job on me? I pressed, sipping the bourbon, smooth fire down my throat. Tommy pinned it all on me. IA's got my name on those ledgers. Slade's eyes gleamed.
Details.
I have friends in the department. One call, and you're a grieving widow. Not a suspect. Friends. The kind who vacationed in Gitmo. I leaned in, voice dropping. Make it 300. And full exoneration, charges dropped, record scrubbed. Or I upload everything to WikiLeaks tonight. Your strip malls? Fronts for laundering casino cash. I Googled. Victor. You're not subtle. His laugh barked out. Genuine this time. Ballsy. Tommy said you were the smart one. He slid a briefcase across the desk. Click open. Stacks of crisp hundreds. A burner phone. And a flash drive labeled clean slate.
Done.
But remember, debts get paid. Call if you need. Adjustments. I pocketed the drive. Heart hammering. Walking out into the muggy night, the river's stench clinging like guilt, I felt the scales tip. Not justice, survival. Controversial? In Cleveland, where half the city ran on backroom deals. It was Tuesday. Back home, the kids greeted me with chaos, Jack's Lego tower toppling, Mia smearing peanut butter on the walls, Ben gnawing a remote. Normalcy. Fragile as eggshell. I cooked mac and cheese from a box. First home meal in weeks, and as they slurped it down, Ellie piped up, "Grandma said Daddy's in heaven now." "Is he? Heaven?"
Tommy,
With his whiskey breath and wandering hands.
he's
"Somewhere better," I lied, ruffling her hair. "Watching over us." That night, Eddie called, charges downgraded. Self-defense plea. Trial in 6 months. Slade's friends had worked fast. I hung up, staring at the briefcase under the bed. 300 grand. Blood money. But it bought time. The family counterattacked at the next hearing, Evelyn's lawyers waving psych reports like red flags. Unfit, they crowed. Associating with known criminals.
how?
A tail. Probably. Spotting my warehouse jaunt. Dad testified via Zoom again. Voice booming, "Sarah, we've enabled you too long. Time for tough love. The kids stay with us until you're stable." Stable. Their code for medicated. Muzzled. Married off to some accountant who wouldn't rock the boat. I took the stand myself. No lawyer script. "You want stable? Look at Tommy. Your perfect son. Stealing from orphans and widows to fund your lake house. I raised these kids on ramen and overtime while he played hero. Irresponsible? That's you. Burying his sins to save face." Gasps rippled the gallery. Evelyn's face twisted. A mass cracking. The judge banged his gavel. "Counsel. Control your client." But the seed was planted. Reporters scribbled furiously. By evening, my quote headline local news: "Widow accuses in-laws of covering cops' corruption." Lorraine called at midnight. Hysterical. "You idiot. Mom's having a stroke." Figurative. But still. "They're suing for defamation." "Good," I said, cradling Ben as he fussed. Let the truth bleed out. Revenge tasted sweet, but it corroded. The next day, anonymous tips flooded IA. Tommy's name. Slade shadow. The department froze assets. Raided the Harlan safe deposit box. Evelyn's pearls? Pawned for bail on conspiracy charges. She cornered me at a supervised visit. Park bench. Kids splashing in the duck pond. "You bitch," she hissed. Low enough the social worker wouldn't hear. "This ends now." A sign over the kids. Or I bury you deeper than Tommy. Her eyes, flat, venomous, mirrored mine. For a heartbeat, I saw the flip. She wasn't grieving. She was complicit. Tommy's skim? She'd signed the checks. Laundered through her charity, bake sales. "Try it," I whispered back. "I've got more dirt than a coal mine." As she stormed off, Jack tugged my sleeve. "Mom, why is Grandma mad?" "Because monsters breed monsters."
Kiddo.
"But yours is gonna eat theirs alive." The weeks blurred into a grind. Job hunt. Barista at a Starbucks knockoff. Tips in a jar labeled Single Mom Fund. Therapy sessions where the shrink droned about boundaries. Nights poring over Slade's drive. Codes to crack. More skeletons. One file. Tommy's insurance payout. Beneficiary switched to Evelyn weeks before the accident he'd planned for me. Twist of the knife. She'd known he was leaving. Hell. Encouraged it. The mistress? A distraction. The real play. Collect on my suicide. Kids to her. Fortune intact. I confronted Lorraine over coffee at a Tim Hortons. Steam rising like unspoken accusations. She set me up. Your mother-in-law. Tommy's too. Lore shook her head. Bleached roots showing. You're paranoid. Like always. Read this. I slid a printout. Email chain. Evelyn to Tommy. Handle the wife quietly. The children are our future. Her face blanched. Jesus. Sarah.
What now? Now?
We flipped the board. I leaned in, voice steel. Help me, or get dragged down too. She hesitated, then nodded, slow, reluctant.
Blood.
After all, ran thicker than lies. With her testimony prepped, I filed countermotions. Fraud. Endangerment. The Harlan's empire cracked. Foreclosure notices. IRS audits. Dad called, bellowing. You've destroyed us. Ungrateful whore. Family. Right? I hung up, gut twisting. Was I the villain now? Raising warriors meant teaching them to fight dirty. But at what cost? Slade checked in via burner. Stirring the pot? Amusing. But don't drown in it. Or what? I challenged. Silence. Then, or I fish you out.
Permanently.
Threat hung like smog. But fear? It forged me sharper. Fall hit Cleveland like a hangover, leaves turning rust red. Wind off the lake, whipping up lake-effect misery that seeped into your bones. The kids thrived in the chaos, oblivious to the noose tightening around our necks. Ellie started 3rd grade at the public school down the block. Her backpack sagging with crayons and dreams, Jack joined Pee Wee football, tackling dummies with Tommy's old ferocity. The twins finger-painted murals of Mommy the Hero, and Ben? He walked at 10 months, staggering into my legs with a gummy grin that melted the ice in my veins. But normalcy was a facade, thin as onion skin. The ankle monitor chafed, a constant reminder of the trial looming like storm clouds over Progressive Field. Eddie coached me daily. Stick to the script. Self-defense. No vigilante bullshit. Vigilante. That's what the tabloids dubbed me after the Beacon ran a sidebar. Widow's War. Is justice or vengeance driving Sarah Harlan? Comments online were a cesspool, half cheering my girl boss takedown, half howling I was a crazed killer mom poisoning the kids against innocent grandparents. Innocent. The word burned. Evelyn's flip came swift, emergency motion to revoke my visitation, claiming emotional abuse. At the hearing, she played the frail widow card. Voice quavering, she threatens me, Your Honor, with fabricated lies about my poor boy. Fabricated. Lorraine's affidavit, sworn, notarized, sat in Eddie's briefcase like a grenade pin pulled. But she chickened out last minute. Texting, can't do it. Family first. Sorry. Betrayal. Round 2. Blood boiled to plasma. I stormed her yoga studio that afternoon, the minivan screeching into the lot amid downward dogs and essential oils. She was in child's pose when I yanked her ponytail, gentle, but firm. Traitor, I hissed. Kids buckled in the car, oblivious. You saw the emails. Evelyn's poison. Tears streaked her Lululemon. It's complicated. Harold's sick, prostate. If we lose the house. Complicated? I laughed.
Bitter.
Try raising 5 on food stamps while your family plots your grave. She crumpled.
Sobbing.
What do you want?
Truth.
In court. Or I leak your spa loans from Tommy's slush fund. IRS loves audits. Extortion?
Yeah.
Controversial as hell. But in the Harlan playbook, it was checkers to my chess. She agreed. Voice muffled. For the kids. Court day dawned frigid. Frost etching the courthouse windows like accusations. Gallery packed. Slade's observer in the back row, subtle. Vic. Reporters with notepads like switchblades. Evelyn took the stand first. Dabbing tears. Sarah's unstable. The children cry for their father at night. Blame her rages. Rages. My history. 1-bar scuffle. A fender bender from exhaustion. Versus her ledger of complicity. Eddie called Lorraine. She shuffled up, pale as milk, oath trembling on her lips.
I
Saw the emails. Evelyn knew about the embezzlement. Encouraged Tommy to eliminate obstacles.
gasps.
Evelyn bolted upright. Lies. Blood isn't thicker than perjury. You little bailiff. The judge's gavel cracked like thunder. Cross-exam was a bloodbath. Evelyn's lawyer shredded Lorraine. Bias sibling rivalry? Motive to fabricate. But the seed sprouted. Judge ordered a recess. Evelyn's glare promising Armageddon.
Outside.
In the smoker's haze. Dad cornered me. Flesh and blood this time. Flown up. Reeking of Old Spice and outrage. You happy now? Tearing us apart? Your mother's on blood pressure meds because of you. Me? I shoved him back. Monitor beeping warning. You called me irresponsible my whole life. Dropped me at Annie's when I was 6 because I disrupted your sales trips. Tommy was your redemption project.
Well,
Newsflash, he was rotten. And you fertilized him. His slap landed soft, age-weakened, but it stung soul-deep. Ungrateful. Always were. I rubbed my cheek, tasting copper. Watched the will reading. Ungrateful's about to inherit. Tommy's estate settled that week. Life insurance to the kids, me as trustee.
house in my name.
Evelyn contested. Screaming forgery. But Slade's friends had scrubbed the docs clean. She got zilch but a civil suit for interference.
Sweet.
But Pyrrhic. The kids sensed the war. Ellie wet the bed. Jack punched a classmate. Twins clung like Velcro. Therapy bills piled. But I paid with briefcase cash. Doled out in coffee can increments. Slade summoned me again. This time to a steakhouse on East 4th, Ruth's Chris knockoff, where power brokers carved ribeyes like territories. He slid into the booth. Napkin tucked bib style. You're a natural. Sarah. Flipping kin like pancakes. Need a job? My operations could use a sharp mind. Temptation whispered. Steady pay. No grease traps. But his world? Quicksand. Raising kids solo. Not looking to trade one cage for another. He shrugged. Forking fillet. Suit yourself. But remember, everyone's got a price. Yours is showing. Post-dinner. Buzzed on free wine. I drove home through neon-lit streets. Radio crooning Springsteen. Born to run. Not rot. Pulled over by a black and white. Routine check. Monitor ping. The cop, young, acne-scarred, peered in. Ma'am. Everything okay? Fine. Officer. Then. Impulse. Ever know Tommy Harlan? His face tightened.
Yeah. Good guy.
Sorry for your loss.
Good guy.
The lie festered. He wasn't. Stole from the badge. Framed me. Awkward shuffle. Have a good night.
Seeds.
More seeds. The flip came mid-November. Anonymous leak to Channel 3, Evelyn's bank statements. Tied to Tommy's skim. Headline, Cop Widow's Mother-in-Law in Embezzlement Web. Her McMansion foreclosed overnight. Harold checked into hospice. Morphine dazed. She called collect from a motel, voice raw.
Defeated.
Truce? The kids.
They're all I have left. Truce.
After poisoning my life? Too late. but visits supervised. Earn it, mercy, or manipulation? Even I couldn't tell. As snow dusted the driveway, Ellie built a snowman for Daddy, carrot nose melting. He'd like this. Right, Mom? Yeah, baby. Lies for love. But the real build? Our fortress. Brick by vengeful brick. Lorraine defected fully, moved in, bunking on the couch, helping with baths and bills. You're doing it, she whispered one night, wine glasses clinking. Proving them wrong.
Wrong.
The word anchored me. But in the mirror, eyes hollowed by sleepless siege, I wondered, at what monster's cost? Winter clamped down like a bear trap, blizzards burying the cul-de-sac, heating bills spiking like fever. The briefcase dwindled to whispers of green, but I stretched it. Bulk buys at Aldi. Hand-me-down coats from church drives, ironic. Given Dad's flock. Work at the coffee shop ground on. Dawn shifts slinging lattes to commuters who tipped pennies and pity stares. Saw you on the news. Tough break.
Tough.
Understatement of the decade. Trial prep consumed evenings. Eddie drilling me on testimony. Mock crosses where he'd play Evelyn's shark attorney. Ripping into my instability. Admit the affair suspicions drove you mad, he'd bark. I'd fire back. Mad? Try betrayed. He confessed. Gun on the table. I reacted. Euphemism for murder. Self-defense hinged on that razor edge, panic. Not premeditation. The gun? Tommy's. Registered.
No preinscript.
But the files? Off limits. Slade's ghost in the machine. The kids adapted. Feral and fierce. Jack's coach called, "Kid's a beast on the field. Hits like he's got a grudge." Ellie aced a spelling bee. Word, vindicate. Coincidence? The twins potty-trained each other. High fives over tiny thrones. Ben babbled mine, clutching toys like talismans. But cracks spiderwebbed. Nightmares woke us all, mine of Tommy's blood pooling on linoleum. Ellie's of bad grandma stealing us. Lorraine played buffer. Her yoga calm a bomb. But guilt gnawed her. I enabled them.
Sarah.
For years. Past tense, I said, chopping onions for chili. Now, you're in. Her help was gold, babysitting for my errands, decoding Slade's cryptic texts, asset secured, stand by. One night, she confessed over cheap Merlot. Evelyn approached me last week. Offered $50K to flip back. Testify you're abusive. My knife paused mid-carrot. And I told her to fuck off. Then I recorded it. She slid her phone over, audio gold. Evelyn's voice. Venom dripping. That whore's turning the children against us. End it, Lorraine. For family. Family. The incantation that excused atrocities. I hugged her then, fierce. Rib-cracking. Welcome to the war. Evelyn's desperation peaked at Christmas. Card in the mail. Glittery and grotesque. With a check for $10,000 for the grandkid Santa. I tore it up. Flames in the sink. Ashes swirling like black snow. But the kids? They deserved magic. Lorraine and I scraped together a tree from a dollar store lot. Lopsided pine reeking of desperation. String lights pilfered from the Harlan's garage raid. Petty? Yes. Cathartic? Hell yeah. Presents unwrapped amid giggles. Ellie's sketchbook. Jack's football. Twins' puzzles. Ben's blocks. No Daddy's shadow this year. As they crashed, sugar comatose, I whispered to the tree, "This is revenge."
Tommy.
Joy they can't touch. New Year brought the bomb. IA raid on Slade's warehouse.
Tipped by.
Who? My gut screamed setup. Cops swarmed our door at 6 a.m., warrant for harboring evidence. They tore the place. Couch cushions slashed. Fridge gutted. Kids wailing in Lorraine's arms. Nothing here, the lead detective growled, Kowalski again. Mustache twitching. But we know you met Slade. Talk.
I stood firm.
Monitor silent. Self-defense attorney. That's all. He cuffed me anyway, obstruction. Back to lockup. Deja vu bitter as bile. Eddie bailed me by noon. Fuming. They're building a conspiracy case.
You?
Slade. The files. The files are gone, I lied. Burned. Actually, after backing them to a cloud only Lorraine knew. Released. House reeked of latex gloves and suspicion. Kids traumatized. Ellie mute for days. Jack punching walls. Why do they hate us?
Mom.
They don't hate us, I soothed, bandaging his knuckles. They fear us.
Fear.
The great equalizer. I retaliated subtle. Anonymous donation to the Beacon's Cop Corruption Fund, with Evelyn's statements attached. Headline: Embezzlement ring expands. Grieving in-laws implicated? Her motel evicted her, unpaid rent. Harold died in hospice. Obituary silent on scandals. Dad's final call: murder. You've killed us all.
Click.
Line dead. Like us. Spring thawed the ice. But not the chill. Trial date circled in red on the calendar, May 15th. Courthouse Coliseum.
Eddie prepped var. Witnesses, Lorraine.
Jenna the mistress. Even a crooked ex-cop turned state's evidence. My testimony? The hook. He raised the gun first. Said he'd make it look like I did it to myself. Gaslight to gospel. But the flip loomed. Slade subpoenaed as character witness for the prosecution. His play? To bury me. Protect his empire. Confrontation came in a parking garage, his limo idling like a panther. Goons flanking. Sarah, he purred from the shadows. Cigar smoke curling. Testify clean, or the kid's school gets a donor. Generous.
Or. Not.
Threat veiled as offer. Controversial calculus. Snitch. Save face. Hold. Risk all. I raised them on scraps, I said, voice steady. Think I'll fold for your pennies? He smiled.
Slow.
Everyone folds.
Not me.
Not anymore. As petals bloomed on the crab apples, I trained the kids in survival. If strangers come, run to Aunt Lore. Scream fire. Ellie drew family forts, us inside. Harlan's out. Jack shadowboxed. I'll fight him. Mom. Fighters. My legacy. But doubt crept. Was proving them wrong worth the scars? The therapy shrink nodded. Revenge is a mirror. What do you see? A woman forged in fire. Irresponsible?
No.
Unbreakable. May bloomed muggy. Humidity thick as unspoken sins. The trial opened in a courtroom sweltering under ancient AC, fans whirring like distant helicopters. Jury box filled with blue-collar types, truckers, nurses, a welder with tattooed knuckles, who eyed me with that Midwest mix of skepticism and sympathy. Jury of peers, Eddie joked pre-trial. Peers who know embezzlement when they smell it. Prosecution led with Evelyn Shark, Harlan, irony's cruel joke, painting me as Lady Macbeth in mom jeans. Opening. Sarah Harlan didn't snap in fear, she plotted in rage. A history of volatility. a marriage in tatters, and a smoking gun that screams premeditation. Witnesses piled on, neighbors heard yelling that night. The 911 operator, caller sounded hysterical. Even my old boss at the diner quit in a huff once. Unreliable. Evelyn testified last. Oscar-worthy. My son deserved better. She destroyed him, and us. Cross was Eddie's glory, Mrs. Harlan. Aware of your son's financial irregularities.
Stammer.
Deflection. Grief clouds memory. Then my turn. The stand felt like a pillory, oath sworn. Eyes boring in. Eddie guided gentle, the affair text. The confession. Tommy lunging for the gun. I feared for my life, I said, voice cracking true. For my children. Jury leaned in, mothers nodding. Fathers shifting. But Harlan Torin. Feared? Or furious? You copied his files weeks prior. Planning leverage. Objection sustained. But damage done. Whispers, she's dirty. Recess brought Lorraine. Smuggling juice boxes. You're killing it. Evelyn's unraveling. Unraveling. At lunch, she cornered me in the hall, bruised under eyes. Hair limp.
Stop this. Plea out.
For the kids. Kids. I laughed. Hollow. You mean your leverage? The ones you sold out for $50K? Her slap stung. Echo of Dad's. I recanted for them. You're turning them into soldiers.
Sarah.
Is that motherhood or madness? Madness. The line blurred. Back on stand. Post-lunch. The twist detonated. Slade. Striding in like a dawn. Sue crisp as fresh bills. Prosecution calls him Mr. Slade.
Your.
Association with the victim?
Professional. Big Draulat.
Eyes locking mine. Warning shot. Tommy consulted on developments. Sarah knew more than she lets on. Eddie objected. Relevance? Judge allowed. Slade spun silk. She approached me post-shooting. Demanded hush money. Threatened exposure. Lies. Laced with truth. Jury murmurs swelled. Harlan pounced. So, the defendant extorted you? Implied, Slade said. Smooth. A desperate woman. Desperate. The word branded. Eddie rehabbed on redirect. Mr. Slade. Your own ties to precinct corruption. Slander, he snapped. But seed planted, doubt on his Teflon. Court adjourned in chaos, reporters mobbing. Flashbulbs popping like gunfire. Home. Kids mobbed me. Did you win? Mom. Ellie. Clutching a courtroom sketch she'd drawn, me as superhero cape. Not yet, I whispered, hugging fierce. But inside, fracture. Slade's play had flipped the narrative.
Me.
The villainous. Closing arguments dawned brutal. Harlan. Justice for Tommy, a good man felled by betrayal. Eddie countered. Betrayal started with him. Sarah defended her home. Her heart. Jury deliberated 3 days, agony in limbo. Lorraine paced. Wine bottle emptying. What if? Won't. But sleep evaded. Ghosts whispering. Irresponsible. Murderer. Monster. Verdict read at dusk. Courtroom hushed. Not guilty. Self-defense. Cheers erupted. Eddie bear hugging. Lorraine sobbing relief. Evelyn fled. Face ashen. Muttering rigged.
Outside.
Cameras swarmed. I shielded the kids, brought for the moment. No comment, but a nod. Vindicated. but victory soured quick. That night. Firebombs, literal. Molotov through the window. Living room inferno. Kids screaming. Lorraine herding them out back door. I grabbed the briefcase remnants. Phone dialing 911 as flames licked walls. Fire trucks wailed. We huddled on lawn.
Soot-streaked.
Arson. Deliberate. Slade's message? Or Evelyn's last gasp? Cops questioned. Enemies? I named none. But in the hospital, minor burns. Smoke inhalation. I called Vic's burner. You're doing? Laughter.
Cold.
Clean house.
Sarah.
Or burn with it.
War eskalatet.
Insurance denied. Suspicious circumstances. We crashed at Lorraine's apartment. Cramped.
Cat reeking.
Kids traumatized anew. Nightmares of fire monsters. Ellie asked, did Grandma do it? Worse, maybe. Her flip-back whispers to Harold's cronies. Desperation distilled to diesel. I struck back surgical. Leaked Slade's donor list to ProPublica. Politicians tumbling like dominoes. Evelyn civil suit? Dismissed. Her lawyers jumping ship. Summer scorched in. House gutted to studs. Reconstruction funded by GoFundMe. Single moms fight. Pouring in from strangers who'd seen the trial circus. You're a warrior, notes read. Proved wrong? Hell. I was rewriting the script. But the antagonist evolved. Not just Evelyn. But the system, Slade's web. Family rot. Controversial decision. I took his job. Not full dive. But consulting, risk assessment for his legit fronts. Paycheck steady. Monitor off at last. Lorraine confronted. You're becoming him. Maybe, I admitted. Counting bills. But for them. Kids splashing in a kiddie pool on her balcony. Laughter pealing. Becoming. The mirror lied less now. Eyes fierce. Not haunted. Irresponsible? They'd eat those words. Yet tension coiled. Slade's texts grew demanding. Bigger fish.
Sarah.
In or out. Out meant exposure. His
meaning. In.
Soul sold. Ellie overheard one call. Eyes wide. Mommy. Are you a bad guy now? Punch to gut.
No.
Baby. Just surviving. Surviving. But thriving? That demanded the final flip. August humidity clung like a fever dream. The apartment a pressure cooker of kid energy and unspoken fractures. Lorraine's cat scratched ankles, takeout boxes stacked like Jenga. The kids bounced back resilient, Jack's football camp turning him bronzed and bold. Ellie scripting plays about brave moms, twins inventing games with laundry baskets.
Ben toddle devriver.
A tornado in diapers.
But me?
Wire tight. Slade's shadow lengthening. His offer escalated. Not consulting, but immersion. Ride along, he texted. See the Empire. I went. Midnight meet at the warehouse. Dress code black. No questions. Goons drove. Silent hulks in Escalades. City lights streaking past like accusations. Destination. A dockside negotiation. Slade facing off with a rival crew. Russian accents thick as borscht. Crates of electronics unloaded under moonlight. Words heated. Then guns drawn. I froze in shadows. Heart slamming Slade's calm. Business.
Sarah.
Watch. One shot clean.
Knock up. Rival krampeld.
Begging. Deals sealed in blood. Back in the car. Slade lit a cigar. Power's messy. But it feeds.
Feeds.
The briefcase refilled. but nausea roiled. Home at dawn. I showered off the gunpowder tang. Lorraine's eyes questioning. Where? Proving a point.
Lie.
I was sinking, proving nothing but my own slide. Family front reignited. Evelyn. Evicted and feral. Ambushed at the kids' school pickup gaunt. Hair wild. Grandma.
Mia squealed.
But I scooped her up. Barrier firm. Back off, I warned. Or the tapes go viral. Tapes, her motel ravings, Lorraine's secret recordings. Evelyn lunged. Nails raking. You stole them. My blood. Wrestle in the parking lot. Tires screeching past. Mom's gawking. Security pried us apart. Cops called. Assault charges filed, hers. But the scar on my arm? Badge of war. Dad's obituary hit a week later. Heart attack. Peaceful. No service invite. Lorraine flew south for the funeral. Returned hollow. He cursed you to the end. Said you were the devil's own.
Devil. Fitting.
I drowned out in Slade's gigs, vetting investors, eyes on ledgers that mirrored Tommy's sins. Pay bought braces for Ellie. Cleats for Jack. But soul erosion set in, dreams of fire.
Blood.
Kids' faces morphing to judgment. Climax brewed in September, Slade's gala, black tie fundraiser for youth outreach, real purpose, laundering via auction paddles. I attended as associate, gown rented, hair pinned. Schmoozed Pauls. Dodged whispers. That's the cop killer mom. Evelyn crashed it, uninvited. Drunk on spite. Crashing the podium mid-speech. This woman's a fraud. Murderer. Extortionist stole my family. Gasps. Security swarmed. But she flung printouts, my Slade meetings, twisted as criminal conspiracy. Chaos. Flashes popping. Slade's face thunderous. I snatched the mic. Truth? Your son started this, thief. Liar. I ended it to save my kids. You buried it for greed. Unscripted. Raw. Jury of elite staring. Divided. Slade pulled me aside post-eviction. Sloppy. Fix it, or you're out.
Out.
The word freed. I flipped, called Eddie. Spilled to feds. Immunity for full download. Slade's empire? Crumbling under warrants by dawn. Evelyn's arrest followed. Conspiracy.
Fraud.
In holding, she begged through glass. Help me. For the children. Children. Her mantra cracked. Earn it, I said. Like I did. Fall leaves turned pyre gold as charges cleared. My record expunged. Slade's web shredded. Media frenzy. Mom's revenge. From victim to victor?
Débattrage de forum splitting. Héros rustlé?
Lorraine moved out. Reconciliation with her own ghosts. But left a note. You proved them.
Us.
Wrong. Kids thrived. New house rising from ashes. Funded by book deal whispers. Trial tell-all. Ellie directed school play, me as lead. Unbreakable queen. But tension lingered. Slade vanished. Whispers of Caribbean exile. One last text. Debts paid. Watch your back. High Treo peaked Thanksgiving. Feast at the half-built home. Plywood walls and folding tables. Kids turkey stuffed. Laughing. Then doorbell. Lorraine. With Evelyn shackled? No. Voluntary. Gaunt in rehab sweats. Truce, she croaked. Controversial mercy. I nodded. Carving bird. One chance. For them. Tables silent. Then Jack. Pass the gravy. Grandma.
Divided?
Forks clinked.
No héroes.
Just survivors. Winter's sequel softened, no blizzards. Just sly snows that blanketed sins. The new house rose sturdy, 3 bedrooms, playroom fort, kitchen for midnight Mac. Book deal signed. Irresponsible no more. Ghostwriter prying like a confessor. Payments rolled in, steady as Slade's ghost checks never were. Kids bloomed unchecked. Ellie published her first poem in the school paper, Mom's Fire. Our Light. Jack quarterback now. Scouts whispering college. Twins synchronized dives at the Y. Ben a chatterbox philosopher. Why sky blue?
Mom?
Like your eyes when happy.
Happy.
Elusive bird. Lorraine visited Sundays. Bridge rebuilt tentative yoga classes for the twins. Storytime with Ben. Evelyn, peripheral, supervised park days. Her stories of Tommy sanitized. He loved you. Once. Lies for peace. But the twist uncoiled slow. Venomous. Spring unearthed it. Federal probe. My immunity cracking under withholding. Slade. From Shadows, Montego Bay Villa.
Perlix.
Had flipped first, traded my consults for leniency. Tape surfaced, my warehouse chats. Twisted as complicity. Eddie frantic. Plea again? Lesser counts.
No.
Full fight. Subpoenaed to D.C., grand jury. Fluorescent inquisition. Agents grilled. Extortion? Aiding racketeering. Survival, I countered. Voice echo of trial steel. Raised 5 alone against a machine. Jury deadlocked, sympathy split, mom or mall. Charges dropped. But stain lingered. Probation. Fines draining book bucks. Media pivoted. Harlan's fall. Hero or hypocrite. Debates inflamed. Podcasts pitting feminist icon versus system gamer. I tuned out. Focusing fortress. Family nights. No phones. Stories of grit, not grudges. Evelyn's redemption arc faltered. Relapse. Rehab round 2. Her call. Slurred. You win. But the kids. They'll hate you one day. See the blood.
Blood.
On hands. Walls. Legacies. Ellie found the old files, USB remnant in attic box. Mom, what's this?
Truth time.
Age appropriate. Daddy's mistakes. I fixed them. For us. She hugged fierce. You're the fixer. Not bad. Summer solstice brought closure. Slade extradited. Trial in Cleveland, me testifying. Full circle. His glare from the dock. You are good.
Sarah.
Wasted. Wasted? On you. My words sealed his 20 to life. Crowd outside. Supporters chanting. Haters jeering. Divided. As promised, fee fever. Some hailed vigilante justice. Others cried corruption enabler. Fall harvest. Book launch. Signing lines snaking bookstore aisles. Dedication to the irresponsible ones who prove em wrong. Evelyn attended, sober. Shrunken. Post-signing coffee. Tentative. Proud? Of this. Of them. Kids, orbiting chaos joyful. She nodded. Tears real. Me too.
Nota idibau. Skarsicht.
Doubts whispered. But raising 5 alone?
Proved.
Betrayal's echo faded, replaced by their laughter. Twists end. Letter from Dad's estate. Post-mortem olive branch. You were always the strong one. Forgive. Reader's call.
Me?
I burned it. Ashes to wind. Forward. Unbreakable. As snow flurried first flakes, Ellie sketched our portrait family whole.
Fierce.
Our story.
Mom.
The real one.
Yes.
And it ends not with revenge's roar, but quiet. Us. Together. The proof in every breath.